Some people go through life believing that everything is just random, that coincidences are mere accidents of fate, and that life follows a cold, disconnected, and purposeless logic. But what if I told you that none of that is true? That behind those unlikely encounters, the repeating numbers, the messages that appear out of nowhere, there's a hidden code, an invisible pattern, and that this pattern chose you? That's right. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, believed that the universe is constantly speaking to us. The thing is, not everyone understands the language. While some call it madness, those who awaken call it synchronicity. It's as if the universe, instead of using words, aligns events perfectly to guide you, and sometimes even test you. If you've ever had that feeling that something had to happen, that it was too aligned to be just coincidence, then maybe you're more connected than you think. Maybe, without even realizing it, you've already been receiving signs from the universe, and only now are you beginning to understand what they really mean. The reward, clarity, direction, and a whole new way of living. In this video, you're going to understand what synchronicities really are, why they're happening to you right now, and how to use this awareness to step out of autopilot and start living with more consciousness. But fair warning, after watching this, it's going to be hard to keep pretending it's all just coincidence. So get comfortable, because what you're about to discover could flip the switch on your spiritual journey and completely change the way you see every detail of your life. Carl Jung didn't see the world as something separate from us. On the contrary, he believed there's a deep connection between what we feel inside and what happens outside. It's as if the universe has a mysterious way of responding to what we carry in our soul, using symbols, encounters, and even small accidents along the way. According to Jung, these meaningful coincidences aren't random events. They're signs from the universe guiding our path through an invisible pattern. A classic example: thinking about someone you haven't seen in years, and suddenly they call you or cross your path. That's not just a curious moment, that's synchronicity. And when we begin to pay attention to these moments, life stops feeling random and starts revealing itself as a story written with purpose. Jung saw these occurrences as windows that open between the inner and outer world, as if the human psyche were dancing with reality itself. And that dance follows a subtle rhythm, a kind of secret beat that only those who are truly tuned in can perceive. But to hear that rhythm, we have to quiet the mind and observe with more presence. These events show us that we're connected to something far greater than we realize, an invisible system vibrating with energetic frequency that responds to our thoughts, feelings, and intentions. That's why people who live on autopilot tend to overlook these signs. They're disconnected from the frequency that reveals the unseen. And once you begin to realize that nothing is random, a whole new way of seeing life begins to emerge, with more meaning, more intuition, and more questions too. Like, what if this invisible pattern has been trying to guide you all along? There's an invisible thread that connects seemingly unrelated events, and that thread has a name: invisible pattern. It's as if the universe is constantly weaving your path, stitch by stitch, without you noticing, until one day, everything starts to make sense. This pattern is made up of synchronicities that defy linear logic. You experience one moment, then another similar one, and before you know it, you realize there's a message being stitched together behind the scenes of your life. Like when you see a repeating number sequence, like 1111, and just know it's not random. These signs from the universe show up like a secret code that only those who are awake can decipher. A song lyric playing at the exact right moment, a random phrase someone says that sounds like they read your mind, or even a dream that delivers the answer you've been searching for. None of it is coincidence. It's all resonating with your vibrational energy. Carl Jung called it meaningful coincidence, and the most fascinating part is, The more connected you become to this frequency, the clearer, more frequent, and more intense these signs get. For those always rushing, caught in routine and rational logic, all of this might sound absurd. But for those who pause and observe, life reveals itself as an interactive spiritual map. And each synchronicity is like a signpost saying, "This is the way." What seems random to most becomes pure guidance to those who understand the language. So the question is, how many times has this pattern tried to guide you, and you simply ignored it? Because once you begin to understand this hidden flow, you can't help but wonder what else the universe is trying to show you, without saying a word. There are signs that speak to us without saying a single word. Carl Jung said the collective unconscious reveals itself through symbolic events, what we call synchronicities. And many of them are so subtle, they often go unnoticed. One example, that strange feeling of déjà vu, like you're reliving something you don't consciously remember. Or seeing the same animal, symbol, or word show up in different situations throughout the same day. That's the invisible pattern gently nudging you, or maybe insisting a bit. Another classic sign, repeating numbers. A lot of people see 11, 11, 22, 22, 333 and just think, weird coincidence. But these numbers are actually real signs from the universe trying to grab your attention. Depending on the sequence, they carry deep meaning. 111 can signal a new beginning. 222, a need for balance. 555, an imminent transformation. And it doesn't stop there. Repeated messages in videos, advice from different people, all pointing to the same topic. All of that could be resonating with your vibrational energy and pointing you in a specific direction. Someone who learns to recognize these signs develops something priceless: spiritual sensitivity. This isn't about superstition, it's about deep listening. A great exercise is to start tracking the patterns, numbers, names, themes that repeat. Use a journal or an app to record these repetitions. Over time, you'll begin to see life's invisible stitching reveal itself right before your eyes. And when that happens, it's like the universe stops whispering and starts speaking out loud. But the real question is, will you be ready to hear what it has to say? Not everyone sees synchronicities, and that's no accident. Carl Jung believed that only those who are spiritually ready begin to notice this invisible pattern at work in their lives. In other words, if you've experienced coincidences that made you stop and think, "This is more than just luck," then congratulations. You've been marked by something greater. This pattern doesn't show up randomly. It becomes stronger for those who are already vibrating on a different frequency, carrying a vibrational energy that attracts deeper truths. Those who recognize the signs from the universe are, in a way, being invited to live with more awareness. You can't go on living on autopilot once you know something is trying to show you a higher path. It means your soul is already in the process of awakening. It's as if the universe is saying, you're ready to remember who you are. And often, that calling is accompanied by crisis, loss, or breakups. Anything that pulls you out of your comfort zone and pushes you inward. And once this process begins, there's no turning back. You might try to go back to how life used to be, but something inside you already knows. There's a greater purpose at play. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming who you truly are. And usually, those who have been marked by this invisible pattern feel like they don't fully belong in the world as it is. They feel like they're here for something different, something greater. And that feeling can be uncomfortable at first, but it may also be the beginning of the truest part of your journey. Noticing a synchronicity is just the beginning. The real shift happens when you choose to respond to the calling. Carl Jung said that the invisible pattern doesn't show up to entertain you. It shows up to transform you. So the question is, what do you do after you see the signs? Do you pretend nothing happened? Or do you start acting with more presence? Living in tune with the signs from the universe takes courage. The courage to follow your intuition even when the path is unclear. And that requires a vibrational energy that's clean, light, and aligned. You can start with simple actions. Write down the synchronicities you notice during the day, meditate for 5 minutes in the morning, observe your emotions when a sign appears. Another powerful practice is connecting with content that expands your awareness. Books like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle or Jung's own Red Book can open portals within you. But most importantly, build the habit of asking, what is the universe trying to show me right now? Living in alignment with the unseen is like tuning a radio. At first there's static. But when you find the right frequency, everything becomes clear. It doesn't mean life turns into a fairy tale. It means even the challenges begin to make sense. And that's when you realize it's not about controlling what happens, it's about trusting the flow, following the signs, and letting the hidden wisdom of the universe guide your steps. And if you've already started noticing the pattern, maybe the time to act is now. So tell me, after everything you've just heard, are you still going to call it coincidence? When it's clearly a calling? Are you really going to ignore the chills, the coincidences, the soul signs, as if they were just bodily reactions or all in your head? Because if you've made it this far, some part of you already knows. The universe has been speaking to you for a long time. The question is, what are you going to do about it now? Will you start writing down the signs that appear? Will you pay more attention to those chills that come out of nowhere? Will you allow yourself to feel more and think less? Because once you start trusting your intuition, everything changes. And if you've ever experienced something that gave you deep, undeniable chills, tell me in the comments. I want to know, what's the most powerful coincidence you've ever lived? The one that made you stop and think, this can't just be chance. And if this video awakened something inside you, if it made sense on a deeper level, here's what you need to do. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications, because in the next videos, I'll keep revealing the hidden codes behind reality. Here, you won't just learn how to recognize the signs from the universe. You'll learn how to live in alignment with the invisible pattern that Carl Jung said is the key to awakening. The journey is just beginning, and you won't want to walk it alone.